Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting PBS NC.
Here comes the nurse with your baby.
Here she is.
Oh, she's beautiful.
The moment of life is the first for little Jessica, and the 3 million babies born each day. It is also a moment of first for Jessica's father, and many other fathers to begin imagining their baby growing up to be the next super athlete or Hollywood star. Fatherhood is defined by the role that fathers take in their children's lives. A father will either embrace the function of being a father or a dad to his kids.
So to define a father and a dad as they relate to families and children, there's no hard and fast definition, but a lot of people like to think about one as being more involved and engaged, and one being less so. So I've heard families talk about dads as being affectionate and loving and fathers that are not. But the bottom line is trying to lift up what they feel are essential ingredients for fathers, and that's changed over time. We used to think about fathers as just contributors, right? Dollar on the table, money on the table, and that's it. And that has evolved, thankfully, to seeing fathers and men as whole people that have things to contribute to the lives of children.
We traveled to various areas in the state to visit with dads who are making the best of fatherhood. We met 4 dads who are tackling the challenges of raising kids in a world where family structures are ever-changing. In Charlotte, we visited Peter Mubazi, who rose from poverty in Uganda to become a caring foster dad to over 37 foster kids living in the United States.
Being a kid in the foster care system, a lot of kids hop around from home to home. I was one of the lucky ones who was adopted at an early age, but then the parents gave me backup. It still hurt me a lot knowing that they didn't care and that they just no longer wanted me around. One of the first things that Peter did whenever I first arrived was he gave me some food. Because a lot of kids, a lot of time they want somewhere comfortable that they can just eat and relax. He showed me to my room, and while we were staying up, he talked with me about the things that I like to do. Really comforting to have that whenever you first arrive in a new place.
For Anthony, he came in as respite because he was left at the hospital. So I took him in knowing that he was leaving on Monday. I had no clue, that he would stay. I was just, weekend, dude, I can do that. So he walks in and he says, hey, I'm here. I'm like, sure, I see you're here. And I said, you can call me Mr. Peter. He's like, but can I call you my dad? I'm like, hell no, you can't call me dad because you're leaving on Monday. I think in my head was like, 11 kids, 10 kids have called me dad and left. Don't just walk in tonight and tell me that, I've had that before. And then he looked back and said, look, I was told since I'm a teenager, I can choose who my father should be. So I choose you. And I was like, dude, no. Then once I got to know his story, it was the next Monday that I knew, okay, this kid has seen me as a dad, and now I think I can be his dad forever. I've been a foster dad for 7 years. I've had 37 children, and now I've adopted 3 of my children. When I became a foster parent, first of all, I come from a disadvantaged world. So I always think I'm gonna have a Hispanic kid, I'm gonna have an African-American kid, I'm gonna have a Native American. That's what I thought. White kids come into foster care. And they were coming to me, that's when I realized like, oh, it's every child, it's every home. Despite they're poor, they're wealthy, I sign up for all kids. So I better be ready for all kids. I grew up in a small town or small village at the border of Uganda and Rwanda. So I grew up really poor of the poorest. I grew up eating 2 meals every other day, beans and potatoes. And most time we couldn't afford both. You have beans today and you have potatoes the next day. So didn't really have hope or aspiration or that there was a future for me because poverty was just so rough in some way. At the age of 4, I began to realize that my father was different from other fathers or other men that I knew. He was just abusive in every shape, form you could imagine. And I think being the oldest, I really got to feel that maybe harder than most But also, it didn't come towards me. It came towards my mom as well. And it wasn't like I was running away to look for a better life. I think for me was, I'd rather die, but die in the hands of a stranger, but also never give my dad an opportunity to bury me in some way. As a 10-year-old, I think that was the anger of say, I don't like you that much that I would not give you an opportunity to even bury me. I ended up in Kampala, and that's my second life in some way, where I became a street kid. In my country, you're more or less of a human being. You're treated like a stray animal. You're garbage, you're just dirty. And most time, that's what I had. I was a garbage boy, I was stupid, I was nobody. And I believed it. I had lived on the streets for 5 years. One day, I saw a man, I followed him, I stopped, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, what's your name?" No one human being that ever stopped to ask me my name. Loved the idea of someone calling me Peter. I think for me, it reminded me of my mom because my mom gave me that name. That day, the most coolest, amazing thing was he knew my name, and that's all that mattered. And so he fed me for 1.5 years, and one day he said, "Hey, Peter, I have 2 options I can give you. I can feed you every other week, or I can take you to a boarding school." And so I went to school. That was the only reason why I went to school, not to be a teacher or anything. No, food. And I think by loving me at my lowest also helped me to really help me understand, like, wait a minute, I'm not just a garbage boy, but I have a potential, because if he believes I have one, and that will really change my life. And so I did well. I excelled in high school. I went to university in Uganda. I went to university in England. And that's how I came to the United States. From the kindness of a stranger who didn't know me, but who rescued me.
Peter as a foster parent is different than a lot of foster parents we get are 2-parent households. The thing that really has set Peter apart in my experience working with him at 7 Homes has been his drive and his passion for the birth family as a whole, to see reunification happen as much as possible. I have seen Peter drive from Charlotte to the beach to stay overnight in a hotel to make sure that kids get weekend visits with their parents that live 3 hours away on his own dime, which is something that I would never even expect my foster parents to do, but Peter really has gone above and beyond to do that. Is the thing that sets him apart is that he's always looking to go the extra mile.
He's from trauma, from different places, and it comes with all sorts of trauma that our kids go through. But I think for me, I have an advantage above most people. I was that kid, So it's easy for me to go back and say, if my kid is putting holes in my wall, to know, hey, it's not about me, it's not about my house, but this kid really has a way he's speaking that I need to listen. It might not be the way I like to be heard, but I ought to stop and say, Peter, you're out of the way, listen to my kid. Yes, it can be difficult, but at the end of the day, when you fed a kid and the kid says, "Dad, I love you," and the food was delicious, you're like, whew, it means all the headache, it means all the headache. Or when you get a phone call from a mom say, "Hey, thank you, my kid, I got to see my kid, and they really, really thank you for doing that." And you're like, man, wow, that's all that keeps me moving, that, man, if I could help the next parent.
He's helped me cope with my past and the emotions that came along with it. And he's helped me to better manage those and better identify the emotions. And I'm not as confused anymore, and I have a better understanding of life and what I want to do with my life, and that is all thanks to him. The thing that I admire most about my dad is how much he truly wants to help kids and how much he's willing to do. He travels all across the United States speaking up for kids and advocating for them, and it inspires me knowing that he truly cares for them. I haven't seen much in my life is someone who just truly wants to help out of the generosity of their heart.
As Peter continues to open his home to care for and support foster kids, he has been crisscrossing the country sharing advice on adopting and fostering kids and providing helpful tips on fathering kids. His book, Now I Am Known, provides readers with insights on his journey to becoming an adoptive or foster dad. In Durham, Damon Jones was incarcerated for several years before he returned home to mend the relationship with his son and start a new family business.
All right, now what you're gonna do now, you're gonna go in there and finish it just a little bit. It's about ready to fall.
My plan, I want to be able to help the young in the city of Durham that doesn't have or father figure. I want to teach people. You can go out here, you can start your own company. I want to teach the same way I taught my kids everything I know. I want to teach people everything I know. I did a lot of things, construction, pipe layer, working for other companies. It didn't give me the satisfaction, but when I started working in the tree business, it gave me a peace that I now have working for myself.
That bottom teeth.
It was great for me when I had my firstborn son, Keon. But when I look at it, truthfully, I wasn't mentally prepared to be a father. But the feeling that he gave me, seeing him, it was amazing. And I knew I had to change some of my ways. I actually struggled with changing. I did prison time, and I was gone for 9 years straight. With my son, I left when he was probably about 2, and came back years later, a lot of years later. I remember my son at this time, he was about 7 or 8. And I remember him saying, "Dad, you're not gonna go back to that place, are you?" And I looked him in his face and I said, "No, son, I'm not." Maybe 3 years later, I went back to the streets and I forfeited my freedom again. And that devastated him. And for me, it wasn't long after that where the light just came on. And from that point on, I knew I had to coming up with ideas, what I can do to rebuild that relationship once getting released. So I came from another angle, and the angle was, okay, I'm gonna be a great friend, I'm gonna be a coach, you know, and just be a leader. I'm gonna be what I should have been from birth.
Before my dad came back into my life, I feel like I've always been who I am, you know, but I was somewhat lost. I gotta admit, now that he's in my life, things have been better. Been getting better mentally, physically, and financially. We came together, we had that talk, we had a conversation. That mattered the most, just him acknowledging that, okay, son, this what I did. This is what I messed up at, but I'm willing to make it right.
After being released from the halfway house and working with other tree companies, so I had got to a place where my speed was slowing down. I couldn't, you know, I went from climbing 10 trees a day to maybe 3. I began to sit down and realize with the youth that I have remaining, I need to just kind of really put that energy into building something for my kids in our name.
Working with my dad is good. We have a lot of fun. Just waking up, going to cut a tree, I just enjoy it. It's just almost like it's in my blood, like it was just meant for me.
When we had first met, he just really talked about wanting to start a business and what that would look like and how he wanted to break generational curses and how he wanted to create generational wealth. And so we just kind of began to talk about it. And because he really talked about the financial side of it and I knew a lot about business, we were speaking the same language. It really kind of started from the capital. We didn't have a lot of it. We had to use our own money. And then as time progressed, we began to learn about how to get business loans or how to go out in the community and get people to help invest in what we had and believe in it as well.
So I meet my wife and we get married, and of course she already had 4 girls. They completed. They were the pieces that made the Joneses complete, because every last one of them, I began to notice they had different but unique gifts. And I was able to recognize that and use their gifts for the business.
I've never climbed a tree in my life before meeting my bonus father and kind of just starting with the Joneses. So it's it has been a new journey for me. in the arborist business told me not to put limits on myself. And like my stepdad has also taught me other ways to make it easier for myself. It's all kind of, I was like cutting down the tree. That chainsaw is heavy, but it's like at the end of the day, I was able to do it. So it's kind of just always pushing me to do more. The social media aspect of it. My stepdad would send me videos because I'm not always here at the time. And it's really just putting videos together, seeing what works and what doesn't. I started the TikTok, I had the Instagram first. TikTok is very active right now, especially within my generation, allowing more people to see what we're about and like building that network interaction within the community. So both Instagram, TikTok, transfer to Facebook as well.
At first, I was like, I am not picking up no chainsaw. Like, sorry, I mean, you know, getting down and dirty, using my hands, I love that. The very first job I was ever on, that was the very first time I ever seen a tree come down. It's like this adrenaline or this rush that you get, and ever since then I was like, I might want to do that. And the arborist business has prepared me for entrepreneurship, just as a personal trainer, as a fitness instructor. Working with him has allowed me to pay more close attention to details. One, in many ways.
It's been so beautiful to watch him just show up like he gave birth to the girls, that he was a part of their life. When I tell you, amazing, amazing father to these children, I could not have asked for a better father for them, I promise you.
Damon's entrepreneurial spirit has fueled him to start and turn the Jones Tree Removal Service into an overnight success and becoming a special dad, husband, and leader in his family. In Union County, we visited Dan Beatler, who is considered one of the hardest working dads living in North Carolina. Dan does not allow working several paid and volunteer jobs and going to college at age 38 stand in the way of him being a loyal dad to sons Michael and Colt.
Go ahead. Clear vehicle first. 10-4.
The fun part of this position is just a volunteer. We're solely volunteer. There's no compensation or anything like that. And when the pager goes off, we take the trucks, go help the people and bring them back in. We train hard to make sure we're adequately prepared. We go over the equipment, make sure the equipment's properly maintained. The Union Academy Charter School, they had a touch of truck events. They had like Union Powers out there, they had the Monroe City Electric, Monroe Law, EMS, and Monroe Fires out there. And I was just talking to the fireman on the truck, just kind of shooting the breeze. I was like, how do you get involved in something like that? What do you do? And they were talking about it, and I got a little excited about it. He said, why don't you come talk to me? So I went down and talked to him. He said, why don't you join up and see if you have any interest in it? So I joined up, started taking the classes, and it bit me, and I was just sold. I could have 5 calls today, whether it be medical or a car accident or fire. You never know what you're going to get into, and every time that pager goes off, it's a different scenario. They'll send us out to resolve the issues. We've taken cats out of gutters. We've taken people picking them off the floor if they can't stand up. We put out structure fires, and we've had some car accidents, all the things that you can imagine. Where I grew up, it was kind of a rural community. It was a pretty tight-knit community, kind of what we got down here and right now. Everybody knew everybody, everybody tried to help each other out. We had a lot of fun, we worked hard, we played hard. My dad's always worked extremely hard. It was important to him to make sure that we knew we were a priority. It was tough, it wasn't always easy, you know, parents divorced and growing up from a different kind of home. Well, I can say that my dad and I are best friends now. But as any teenager with his dad, sometimes it wasn't always rainbows and lollipops. I kind of pushed the limits sometimes. But my dad has always given me sound advice. He never judged. He held me accountable for my actions. Integrity was everything to him, and he was all about being ethical. When Michael was born, I was 25 years old. I was in the operating room, and I was the first one to hold him. Tears were running down my face. I couldn't get the smile off my face. And I have never felt greater joy in my life to see my son. Michael was born, my life changed. I really kind of mellowed out. I started taking responsibility, a little bit more responsibility with my life.
I would say we have a really good relationship. Me and him are always open to each other and talking about things. Recently about school, my grades and everything, how I can improve in band. My dad did marching band with his French horn, and I've always wanted to be in the band. Because of him, he inspired me to. So I've been playing trumpet. So when 8th grade comes around and the chance comes, I'll be doing marching band.
Michael, I try really hard to build that bond today. Be his father, be firm, be hold him accountable to his actions. So just undo your straps, pick up the nozzle, and start walking it down the apron.
I want to be a firefighter, and it helps me see stuff how to do things better because he is one. a firefighter, and my mom is. He does like firefighting and coming up here for training and help them with the truck. I think it's fun because most kids don't really get to do this.
The biggest thing that I try to do with Colt is just to be his friend, right? He has a dad, and I never could begin to replace what his dad is for him. What I want to be is his friend, somebody who he can come and talk to if he needs to, who he knows that has his support, will provide anything he may need in that safe place, right? And that's all I try to be.
The relationships that my sons have with their father is a pretty good one. They enjoy helping him with laundry work. They enjoy helping him do stuff around the house that he needs help with. They love coming up to the fire department and helping do anything we ask at the fire department. You know, just helping and being with each other, playing games together, just, you know, having a family relationship.
You know, it's interesting. Before you have kids, it's all about what makes me happy. What's in it for me, right? And now, all my resources, all my joy and pride comes from watching them succeed.
A lot of the characteristics I see my sons adopting from their father are the hard work, the care, being able to care for people and not just write people off, having that hard work and drive to actually go and do things.
Hard work is everything. There's nothing in life that's given to you. And that's why I work the way I work. I want to provide them a better life than I had. Not that I had a bad life, but I want them to have better than what I had. And I think that's every parent's goal for their kids. In order to do that, you got to hustle. I currently work with Union County Communications as a 911 dispatcher. I work with Union Power Cooperative here in Monroe, North Carolina. I'm a distribution system operator, which is a fancy title. It means I work with controlling outages and getting power back on. And I am the Vice President of Operations for Arborist Capital Partners. We own 3 businesses, a trash business, a laundry business, and a storage business based out in the Midwest and West Coast areas, as well as the volunteer fire departments, Sandy Ridge Fire Department and for Griffith Road Fire Department.
The biggest thing that's important in seeing them do all this stuff, having the 911 operator career, having the career with dispatching for Union Power, having the career in the volunteer service, it shows that you can do anything that you put your mind to.
I love that he does it. He likes to give back to the community and everyone else. I feel great because it inspires me to do that too.
Well, the reality is I'm 38 years old. I'm not an old man by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not getting any younger either. And I also know that there's no more of it. I'm not going to be able to keep working like I'm working today. It's going to catch up to me eventually. So what I'm trying to do is give myself a better chance of carving down the jobs and maintaining the lifestyle my family's accustomed to. And that was the idea of going back to school. The biggest challenge is managing the workload, right? So I have to log in and I'm taking 3 classes at a time right now, which is a lot considering everything else going on. So I have to log in on Mondays. It's all online because with my schedule, unfortunately, in-person learning is just not possible. Log in and find the assignments and then filtering when those assignments are due and what kind of work needs to go into it. It's just prioritizing those and fitting them into the schedule, right? So I have to plan those in. Okay, I can do this assignment on Monday, I can do this one on Tuesday, and just keeping those up and hitting those targets to meet those deadlines. Because I'm extremely fortunate because my family's involved in the fire department with me. If that wasn't the case, there's no way doing what I can do with the community because that would take too much time away from them. Between work and everything else, that's paramount. I can't make every school event that I want to make, unfortunately. But I can make the big ones. The high-level events, the award ceremonies, I can be there for those. So it's prioritizing and dividing and conquering. It's using my vacation time wisely. We don't take too many vacations because my time off goes to making those events to make it count where I can. I'll be able to be graduated in May with my associate's degree, but the whole plan is to be able to start paring some of this stuff down and giving some time back to the people who've helped me sacrifice to get to this point.
Dan has managed to keep his work, college, and family schedules balanced, and he anticipates graduating with an associate degree in business administration in the 2024 spring semester. For Raleigh's James Montague, his mother's advice at an early age set him on the path of becoming a successful business person, a compassionate community leader, and an impactful father to his kids and grandkids.
Some of the qualities that my son has adopted that I can see, that I can appreciate. Ishmael is a great entrepreneur. He's in the music industry as well as he's in the family business. So those are the qualities that I notice when I look at my son and doing what he does. Growing up, the relationship my mother and I had, wondered why she was so kind of rough on me. I didn't realize that she had to take on dual roles. So she had to be the provider, she actually had to be the disciplinarian, and she also had to be the one that nurtured. Now I know why she had to be so rough, because she had to take on both roles. The quality that I adopted from my mother that made an impact, having a heart to look out for the community. I developed the mindset of being an entrepreneur when I was about 14 years old. I must say my mother taught me that. And one day she just said, listen, haircuts have went up to, $6. We're no longer going to the barbershop. You're gonna have to learn how to cut your hair. That's gonna be it. And I started cutting my hair and I started cutting other kids in the neighborhood's hair. 50 cents a head. It taught me independence and how to use what I have to get to the next level. Well, the next thing I did was went to barber school, then cosmetology school.
We grew up, he was in Southgate. I moved to Southgate when I was in 3rd grade. We just continued on a friendship, and as we got to be adults, we were both in the cosmetology field. We worked from 7 a.m. to probably 9 at night. And so we incorporated those same hours, but they were just together at home brainstorming, learning different softwares, reading different books. We just took that time that we spent in the cosmetology field and put it into our own personal real estate business.
Well, the next thing I did was open the salon. Then we kind of went from there and started. Then I built this building here, Statue Side Business Plaza on Rock Quarry Road. The desire to build and develop Elders Peak Senior Living Center stemmed from, when I was doing hair, most of my clients were older ladies, and some of them said that they were having a hard time trying to find, places to live, quality places to live that were safe and affordable, and feel like they're a part of the community. Montague Plaza, that is a new shopping center that we're building. That's going to be a $4 million shopping center on 2718 Rock Quarry Road. It's right in front of Southeast Raleigh High School, so ingrained in the fabric of what we're developing there, helping young people get involved in the skilled trades, because there's some big money in these skilled trades. Your HVAC, your electrical, your plumbing, mechanical, framing, contracting and development, cybersecurity, level 1. So they'll be making money directly out of high school. About Fayette Place, we responded to that RFP and actually won the bid to build and develop Fayette Place and the other site on Main Street. And when I say we, me, my partners, Gilbane and Greystone, which are both big companies, huge development. We're gonna do like 43 townhouses, as well as an innovation center. I think the value that we have on it right now is gonna be about $20 million on that first building.
We want to build a legacy for our grandchildren's children. We want to make sure that they have a sense of entrepreneurship and they don't have to start from scratch. They get a blueprint that we're able to leave. And for the community, we want to show all the African American young girls and boys that it is possible. Making it out of your current situation is definitely possible. It's a lot of hard work, but it is possible.
First child is a wake-up call, because before you have your first child, you're a kid yourself. You don't really understand the awesome responsibility. You don't understand most things about parenting. But when you have that first child, it kind of wakes you up. And it's like, hold on, this thing is real. Didn't have really a father I could go to and say, all right, Dad, now what do I do now? That wasn't there for me. So I had to learn a lot of stuff just through the School of Hard Knocks. As I got to be an older parent, and now a grandparent, I've got 10 grandkids now. Now I can be pretty good at it. But I mean, I'm old now, so it's like, but when you're young, you don't really understand the responsibility that you have.
If I had to describe what it's like to work with my dad in the F7 business, he keeps me sharp, iron sharpens iron. So he offers a wise way of going about things I would otherwise go about knuckleheadish, and he helps me see that there's value in that way of thinking as well, but if you merge it with the wisdom, that's how you go at problems headstrong. Working with F7 has affected my business mindset in a way I never even thought was possible. It's helped me to understand what actual professionalism is and how much of it is missing in the music business. Working with the construction business has taught me how to do holding yourself accountable, no matter what goes wrong. The encouragement from my dad with the music, it's funny how, I could have a successful music business and my mentor not be in the music business at all. And that's because he's been teaching the principles of just business in general, the principles of how to carry yourself as a man.
What it was like to grow up in a family who believed in entrepreneurship. It kind of set the stage for me early to kind of see my dad have businesses all over Raleigh and even outside of Raleigh. I've never seen him work for anyone. I've always seen him have a way to generate some type of income. If you're doing something and you love it, you can monetize it. It doesn't matter what it is. He's always found a way to monetize something. When I tasted the juices, I'm like, you know, we can definitely monetize this. We can be the neighborhood juice man, just start here, you know, but it has grown to so much more than just that.
Being the son-in-law of Mr. Montague has been a blessing. Seeing him operate in his business has opened up our minds to know that we can do great things. He's rooting for me to be successful. He basically told me, he said, you're feeding the world something different than everybody else is. He was like, you can have any business in the world, but you're trying to give people help. He said, that's huge. He said, you don't see it right now, but believe it at some point that it's gonna show its fruit.
Oh, that's good. Love it. Man, love that. Good.
James is admired by many living in the community for his willingness to share business, leadership, and fatherhood wisdom with people. James, his family, and the community celebrated the opening of the Montague Plaza in October 2023 to provide job training, retail space, music studio, and office areas. Our visits with Peter, Damon, Dan, and James show us how various dads manage fatherhood in many ways to make it happen by staying involved in their children's lives. If you know a great dad who answered the call, overcame challenges, and stayed engaged with his children, maybe we can tell his story. Visit pbsnc.org/dads making it happen and let us know.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting PBS NC.